This is the Wally Show. We got the guys from 10th Avenue North in the studio with us, and that obviously is their song "Worn." And I got to tell you, man, you have penned a hit there. That is a phenomenal song. I love that song, and I don't say that lightly.
Yeah, you don't usually say things that are nice. So,
just to you.
You've got me off guard here.
No,
I don't know how to respond.
No, that is a phenomenal song. And I would imagine just because of the subject matter for you guys that it's getting like a pretty good response when you play it live, is it?
Yeah, I think we've gotten some really heavy stories back about this song in particular.
Usually doesn't happen in the moment when you're playing the song. It usually happens quietly afterwards or
yeah, because people want to come up and share with you like what the
Right.
song meant to them, or like hit you up on Facebook or whatever.
It's not a stage rushing song.
Yes,
there have been a couple shows like playing this song in particular that I've seen like people weeping. Like you don't see that a lot at a rock show. You
Oh,
know?
yeah.
So
Yeah, that's amazing. Can we get back to Who I Used to Be?
yes,
Because
yes.
they realized they weren't at a Jeremy Camp show.
Yeah.
And like, oh no, we're at 10th Avenue
Oh,
North.
we
They
came
start
to the
crying.
wrong band.
Yes.
I spent money on this.
No, that's cool, man. That's got to make you feel good though too, like that you have hit somebody on that level, you know?
Yeah, I mean I would say that's kind of our desire for everything we write.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, just trying to, I think when you're actually just honest with the way you feel, you know, and actually honest with the way life is going, people actually enjoy that, you know? I mean, they can relate, they can sympathize with you because they're going through very similar things.
You'd appreciate this. There's actually several Christian radio stations that won't play this song
Why?
because they say it's not encouraging enough and it doesn't resolve.
Oh, really? Oh, goodness gracious.
And
I'm in.
The problem
Like,
is that
they
it's
probably
not what
want-
they want to hear.
They want the
Right.
chorus to end with, and now I know redemption
Yes.
wins.
Yeah.
But the thing is, most of us live in the tension of begging for redemption to win and believing that it will, but not necessarily seeing that.
And sometimes it's not for years. That's the thing, man.
Exactly.
Like you can pray for somebody to be redeemed and pray for somebody's life to turn around like for years and years and years. And sometimes, sadly, people don't even see the fruition of God's plan in someone that they prayed for.
Mhm.
So this song is about like a snapshot of that life and where somebody's at in that moment. And you don't always see the end result.
Yeah, and we're called to weep with those who weep, according to Romans. And so the idea is like Jesus, before he fixed us, he felt us. Like he came, he didn't fix it first, he felt it. He came and lived among us and he felt what it was to be human. And then he, offered himself. And so that gives me like I don't always have to just come in and sweep in and give someone an answer to their problem. I can just sit with them and weep with them and say, I get where you're feeling. And that's what this song is. It's sort of saying, hey, we understand how this feels.
That's one of the coolest things. We're talking to the guys in 10th Avenue North. I think in the Jewish tradition, and you probably know more about this than I do. Not that you're Jewish, but that you're more scholarly and more biblical than I am. But I think it's called sitting in Shiva with somebody, like when they've had like a tragedy or a loss, and it's basically sitting with them and not even speaking. It's just it's being there in that moment, and somehow that brings comfort, which it does. Did I get it right?
That's exactly right, Wally.
I can't believe it.
I am impressed.
Yeah, you are.
Where's your note page?
Yeah.
Do you have that pulled up somewhere
Look
on the
at
internet?
you. You're not the only one that can do that fancy reading thing. No, that's pretty cool. So now where did the song "Worn" come from for you? Now, is this out of other people's experiences? Is it out of your own experience?
This
What?
was real personal.
I think it's kind of cool what you're talking about, how it just takes time for those answers to come. Because when we wrote the song, we wrote it with, Mike and I wrote it with another guy that was producing our record. And I got there earlier than Mike did. So
Always.
we start working on the song.
You guys can work on that later, though, because I can see some tension and some resentment.
Well,
No.
This plays into part of the story.
Okay.
So we're in there, and when you're writing a song, it's a lot like a boy band. You're just kind of going, oh, well, what about, oh, and you're pointing at notes in the sky, and you're just vamping. So Mike busts through the door, and he says,
I looked at him. I go, "We're writing a song called Worn today
That was a bad day,
because
huh?
that is how I feel." Well, I just had a second kid a couple months before, and my wife every morning would grab me by the arm and just be like, "I am so worn out," because we hadn't slept. This baby wouldn't sleep through the night to
Right.
save her life, and so we just hadn't slept in forever. And we also were in the middle of a friend who had been really hurt by us, but like it ended up getting resolved much later. But in that moment, he had been really offended and by something that had happened, and he didn't understand. And I had tried to apologize, even though I hadn't actually done anything
Sure,
to
right.
wrong it. And it was
Yeah,
sort of
I
like
don't
one of
believe
those
that.
big, huge. That's fine. It was just this huge misunderstanding, and so he was all angry. So I'm just like, I need this situation to be redeemed. I need my wife to feel like a human again. I haven't slept in forever. And I was just like, I'd heard in a sermon the idea that the earth is laid out like a garment, and there's places where it's a bit worn through. And the work of Christ in redemption is a reweaving of the fabric.
There you go.
And that's how we should view our job here, bringing the kingdom of God, social justice, forgiveness, love, peace, shalom. All of that is us reweaving the fabric of this earth where it's worn through. And that's what God does with us and what we get to do for others.
Very cool, man. I didn't know the backstory of that song, and it makes me like the song even more. And that's why I want to do something with you guys that we haven't done with a band live. We do the thing called group therapy, and it's basically the stories of other people and what that song has meant to them. And it's the thread, because the stories are all different around it, but the song is the thread. And we actually have somebody that has a story that came in today to share it with you. And so we'll do that within 10 minutes right here on The Wally Show.